I said I figured out after like basically not being on the stage that
Oh, all the time. Absolutely.
I'm out on the hard road. That was fun. That was fun interaction.
You're doing all right. Dude, actually stood there. Do you want to sit down?
No, I'll be sitting the rest of the day.
Whoa, hello. Nice.
All right,
Yeah. Hi. Well, good morning to everyone in Levy County. We're really excited to be here. We've got a great announcement, and we've got a lot of great folks with us here today. I just want to recognize some of them. We have from the Department of Economic Opportunity, Dane Eagle, our secretary. We have the Sheriff of Levy County, Bobby McCallum. Thank you so much. We have Representative Joe Harding from Marion County. From the town of Otter Creek, Mayor Meeks and Town Clerk Mary DeGroot. So thank you guys. Lake County, town of Estatula, Mayor Mitchell Mack, Police Chief Walter Hoagland, and Town Clerk Graham Wells. Welcome. And then from Marion County, we've got Carl Zalak, the Commission Chair, Commissioners Bryant Stone, County Administrator, Munir Boone, sorry if I didn't get that one right, and then Don Westgate. So we appreciate it, and we're excited to be able to make this award today for many communities throughout Florida. Yes, Levy County, but also others. Before I do that, I would just like to say for 1 second, the Biden administration, look, they're not exactly on a winning streak, right? I mean, they've got a lot of problems. They fueled nasty inflation. You look at gas prices, $4.50, $5 a gallon for unleaded, and that's way higher than it was just a year and a half ago. They're not doing anything to alleviate that by doing more domestic energy. They've printed so much money that you have massive inflation, 8.5%, but that's understating it because most of the things that matter have gone up way more than that. You're floundering on the world stage. You have you're shaking hands with the air. You're doing the Easter Bunny. I mean, it's really, I mean, it's sad, but it also is really negatively impacting people's lives. And so, as if they don't have enough issues to deal with, they now have an idea, and I honestly thought this was just a belated April Fool's joke, but they are actually going to create, in the Department of Homeland Security, a Bureau of Disinformation. It's basically a ministry of truth. And what they want to do is they want to be able to put out false narratives without people being able to speak out and fight back. They want to be able to say things like Russia collusion and perpetuate hoaxes and then have people like us be silenced. They want to be able to advocate for COVID lockdowns. They want to be able to advocate for school closures, things that are not supported by the evidence, but then when you speak out, they want to stifle dissent. And so we reject this bureau in the state of Florida. We believe it's essential that individual Floridians and Americans are able to speak out against false narratives trying to be jammed down our throats by this regime. We know they actually appointed somebody to lead it who herself has been an advocate for COVID lockdowns, who herself has put out disinformation about the Hunter Biden tapes, who supported Russia collusion conspiracy theories. And so this is not acceptable. And in Florida, we're not going to have it. And so let's get real here. Let's start dealing with issues that people actually care about. Let's stop trying. You know, when you're not doing well, there's two ways to do it. You can try to do better, and so then maybe people will like what you're doing better, or you can try to shut up everybody who's criticizing your bad policies. It seems like they're trying to do the latter. They want to stifle dissent. And I can feel, though, the public is sick of this, and you also see it with Elon Musk purchasing Twitter. You know, they wanted to use Twitter as a way to enforce the narrative. You know, when you do things like talk about things that conflict with what people like Fauci say or whatever, and these are very eminent people who will come out and show how what he's saying is wrong, they will silence, they'll deplatform you, they will censor you. And so that is something for a free society to not be able to speak out on these major platforms where so much speech goes on. You know, that's a huge problem. And Musk saw that. And Musk saw people being censored. He saw websites like the Babylon Bee, a satire site, being locked out because they had the temerity to do satire about some of the transgender ideology. And so what he's doing, I don't think the board wanted to accept the offer, but they had to because financially it makes sense. And we let it be known in Florida, since our state pension fund has shares of Twitter, that we would absolutely hold the board of directors accountable if they breach their fiduciary duty. They've got to do what's right in the interest of the shareholders. They can't reject Musk's offer because they're worried that he's going to open it up and for political reasons. And so I think that shows you there's a lot of momentum now behind having free speech, a lot of momentum so that people can speak the truth, particularly speaking the truth to a very decaying and discredited ruling elite in this country. And so this is going to be potentially an engine where the American people can speak the truth and fight back. But clearly, our entire principles that the country was founded on, you cannot have a ministry of truth in this country. And so let's get real here. Let's make sure that we're doing things to benefit Floridians and Americans, but we're not going to let Biden get away with this one. So we'll be fighting back. You know, and it's sad with, you know, if you look at what we're doing economically in Florida, you know, we have the biggest budget surplus this state has ever had by a country mile. We had in March, they estimate how much revenue comes into the state, and our budget for this current fiscal year is $101.5 billion. We're getting $700 million over estimate, which was what we had in March, and we're going to likely have the same in April. So just from when they did the most recent estimates, you've now taken in probably over $2 billion extra dollars that no one was even thinking about. We'll do May and June as well. And so we're going to end this fiscal year with by far the biggest budget surplus the state has ever seen. And so we're... And part of the reason why we've done it is because we've been responsible. We've protected people's freedoms and kept the economy open, which was a contrast to a lot of other places. We had schools open and all the things that really matter. But we've also understood that we need to be prepared because if I had to bet, I would bet Biden would plunge this country into a recession. Look, I hope that's wrong. I don't want that to go. I want to keep things going well. But if you look at the mismanagement and the bad policies, we've got to prepare for that. And maybe Florida's doing well enough that we would be able to really get through that without having a steep downturn. I don't know. We'll have to see. But when you do what they've done, you are going to have to pay the piper at some point. And so the good news about Florida is we're ready. I have so much in reserve. We just plug. If there's any type of budget hiccup, you just plug the hole and move on. We literally would not have to do anything major to deter us from our approach. And so that's really what good governance is about, making sure that you're looking at what may happen down the road and you're able to react accordingly and protect. So anybody in law enforcement, education, all that stuff, we will make sure that we're meeting our priorities regardless of what's coming down, from the Brandon administration. And so we're good. We're good. And if you look at our unemployment rate in Florida, we actually we're lower than the national average. If you look at jobs, we have more jobs filled today than prior to COVID. There's a lot of states that aren't even close to getting back to where they were yet. And I think that's a testament to the fact that the state's been governed much better than many of those other states. We added in March, we had the largest increase in manufacturing jobs since COVID in Florida. And that's the thing. People talk about some of these other things. I want to make more things in the United States and in Florida. When we have an opportunity, to really expand our manufacturing base. We have done it over the last 2 years. I've got some more companies, I think, that are impressive that we're going to hopefully be able to bring down here very soon. But what happens is, you're in a community, and those are jobs that people that in Florida have access to. They'll talk about moving some tech company here, and they bring the employees, and then they help drive up the cost of living and all that stuff. What about stuff here where our folks are able to benefit? And that's why we've worked so hard on career education and technical education. If you look at what they're doing right now for like truck drivers, they're paying $15,000 signing bonuses just to be a truck driver. Right off the bat, they're paying $110,000 in Walmart to be a truck driver right off the bat. And so we've expanded commercial driver's license opportunities for people throughout Florida so they can go train, get that, and all of a sudden they're giving you a signing bonus. I mean, they didn't used to do that. So these are skills that are in demand. If you look at things like welding and electrical and HVAC, especially in a growing state, there's a huge demand for this. You got kids graduating high school now. They're able to get certifications in these trades. And then they end up going in an apprenticeship, get jobs. Some of them are making $100,000 by the time they're 20 years old. And then a lot of them are starting their own companies as they get older. And so going to a 4-year brick and ivy university is not the only way you can be successful. And honestly, for many people, it's not the best way. You look at how much people have gone into debt, and then they end up with these degrees in things like zombie studies. And then what happens? They end up working where they could have worked out of high school anyways. And I also think what Biden's doing with this, the student debt that's out there, almost 60% of it is graduate school debt. These are people like doctors and lawyers, people that are getting masters and PhDs and all this other stuff. My view is, why would you make a truck driver or a waitress or a construction worker pay off the debt for somebody that did a PhD program in gender studies? That's wrong. And so we have opportunities through skilled trades to have folks with no debt go right into gainful employment and be able to do very, very well. And so from an opportunity perspective, it's important for citizens, but it is huge for our economic development goals, because when companies see and businesses see Florida is committed to workforce, well, then they know they're going to have folks who are going to be able to do a lot of these key things. And so we're going to continue the momentum on that. We think it's something that's very important. We've added 50 apprenticeships in Florida, just in the last couple years. We've, I think, doubled our workforce opportunities from where we were just 5 years ago. We're going to continue to do more and more. So we're excited about that. And some of the stuff we're doing with these awards definitely feed into workforce, and we're going to continue to make sure we're doing well. We also are going to be doing some good tax relief this year. I think it's about $1.3 billion in various types of tax relief. I got to sign this bill. I think they're going to send it to me pretty soon, so we're going to sign that. But that's stuff that's going to help a lot of families. I have a 2-year-old daughter at home who's still in diapers. You actually have a diaper holiday for 1 year, no tax on diapers. So a lot of young families are like, thank you for that. Because the thing is like, there's when prices go up and inflation, you can kind of cut back, you can change your behavior, but you really can't not do the diapers. It's like, it's a fact of life. It's just, So when my 5-year-old is out, my 4-year-old's out of them, and so but the 2-year-old, we got a little runway left, and so it wasn't my idea to do that. It was the legislator's idea, but you do that. We're going to have other holidays for tax, like gas tax holiday. We're going to have back to school holiday, disaster holiday. We're going to have a lot of good stuff, and so we're trying to help taxpayers navigate what has been the worst inflation we've seen in over 40 years. So stay tuned on that. Now today, we have great announcement, and I'm glad we're able to be here in Levy County. I'm glad that communities in this part of the state are going to be benefiting, but in reality, there's going to be communities all across the state who are going to be benefiting. And so today, we're able to announce, and we're proud to announce, another $22.3 million for workforce development and infrastructure in local communities throughout Florida. And that includes almost $17 million for rural counties and for small cities in the state of Florida. And this includes, And this includes funding for broadband. It includes new community centers. It includes grants for small business development across our state. And so, example of what this funding can do here in Levy County, we're awarding $1.4 million to install town-wide broadband internet in the town of Otter Creek. So this helps with education, it helps with economic development, but everyone in Otter Creek is going to have access to broadband once we are able to do this, and so we're excited about that. We also have awards across the state. We've got $4.3 million down in Key West. $3.8 million I mentioned for Lake County, Estachula, $3.5 million for City of Hawthorne, $2.7 million for Fellsmere, $1.4 million for Tampa, $1 million for DeSoto County, Marion County, who's here, is going to get $500,000, and on it goes. And so we're happy about being able to do this. We've been able to do a lot in many of these other counties already, and today we're going to do more. Now, we're going to do these checks, and that's great. I'm also going through the fiscal 22-23 budget that the legislature passed. Now, I have not received the budget yet, and I have not signed it, but we're going through. There's individual items in there, and the governor basically has to make a decision. Do you line item veto these individual items, or do you approve the individual items? And so there's actually almost $500,000 in the budget for Levy County Bird Creek boat ramp to add a new boardwalk and 2 new covered pavilions. And so, should I sign it or should I veto it? What do you guys think?
Sign it!
Okay. All right. Well, good. Well, I can also then announce today that when the budget is signed, we will approve the nearly $500,000 for the Bird Creek boat ramp. So you all get that money. So. For sure. Okay, so I'm going to do the check presentations, and we'll do some photos. So Otter Creek, y'all want to come over here and accept it? Here we go. There we go. Can you see it?
Step into the light.
All right. All right, Lake County, where y'all at? All right. Okay.
Y'all hold it.
All right, a little bit of a hiccup today here, guys. Wasn't expecting this particular thing to be televised because it was just kind of a small thing, but he took the opportunity to highlight some things, and I thought I would go along with it just to kind of help people understand the historic nature of what is happening in Florida right now. I think people are in shell shock. Truthfully, they can't believe it. They want to create make-believe stories like weather warfare and what's the cabal going to do and all this kind of crap. So, and it's a tough thing too. Pardon me 1 second while I hide some people who don't want to be helpful. Let's see if I can maintain my train of thought here of what we were talking about. It's an easy thing to get caught up on the idea of Governor DeSantis because he's the guy out front. And last night, Governor DeSantis was on Fox News. Now, to me, that's kind of a mistake for me. He went to Orlando, a blue area of Florida, and appeared with fake Fox colluding with the Biden administration inauguration lie. So I'm not sure how much that served the people of Florida appearing on Fox. There's a giant team. There is a giant team of people behind Governor DeSantis. And Monica Warren, please don't censor people. Yes, I will censor people who come here with their absolute nonsense, bullshit, garbage, trying to distract to another topic. Absolutely will. Absolutely will. If you don't like the topic here, if you don't like the direction of the live, go someplace else on YouTube. So, but don't attempt to hijack. So, I just wanted to cover this because a lot of people are trying to hang this all on DeSantis. Because, pardon me, he's the guy out front. He's the governor. And yes, his leadership has been fantastic. But he would not have been able to do it without all of the people behind him. And that's really the key. If he hadn't had the support of the House, the support of the Senate, the support of our Attorney General, the Chief Financial Officer, the courts, the people themselves, the reason Florida is being able to do what it's doing is because there is a huge, huge team effort. The Lieutenant Governor, his wife, the First Lady. Okay, this is a giant team effort, and he tries to show this. The governor really does. Every time he goes out and he says, here's why we're here. Here's what we're talking about. Here are all the first thing he does is announce and introduce everybody who's going to be there. And then he lets them speak. And he lets them do their thing. And talk about local issues and talk about, you know, how it's affected them the last 2 years and what we've done here in Florida. But that's really the key. It's so much behind the scenes. And it's kind of hard for him, really, because he truly is a humble guy. So the idea of him going to Washington, D.C. and laying his hand upon, you know, the government there and creating some magical fix is garbage. And when you go on Fox News and you see, I was going to do a video today kind of talking about how I think the governor might have slipped a little bit by doing that going on with Laura Ingraham. You see, I think people have forgotten. I think people have truly forgotten. And local issues don't get you play on Twitter. You see, and that's a lot of people are like, well, yeah, so what does that have to do with anything? People gravitate away from putting their energies into local issues. Okay, RHB 30001. Who in North Carolina can I vote for? I don't know. You know why I don't know RHB 30001? Is I don't live in North Carolina. I don't have a clue. The first thing you should look at is your local issues. Find out who your sheriff is. Find out who's on your county council. Find out what's going on with your local mayor. And work your way up from there. And do your own research and do your own reading. So the thing with Musk, You see, those guys want to operate on a global scale. Musk and Trump and Bezos and Gates, and they want to operate on a national scale. Kings 400 years ago operated on a global scale, what they knew of the globe at the time. The New World wasn't settled. There were not fiefdoms. There were not barons. There were not any of that when the New World was settled. The Spanish had an interest. The French had an interest. The Italians, the Dutch, the English, they all had their interests in the New World. And so the Continental government said the only way this is going to work where it doesn't end up in tyranny again is if we do states' rights, what we refer to as states' rights, and let each state govern itself. Now, for common defense of the New World, we are going to have to create an administrative district. But once again, I'll say it again, and I've said it before, and a lot of people don't get it through their head. Florida was not part of the revolution. Florida didn't participate. It was under largely Spanish control. It was still an incredibly free place to live compared to Spain. It was just a matter of, see that yonder hill full of trees? Go chop them down and either turn them into a cabin and plant something or sell the wood or hunt for something or fish for something. It's all free. You didn't have to ask permission. You didn't have to buy it. So it was a very almost too free in some sense place to live. And I'll move the map here to show you why. This is the West Indies. This was pirate territory. 1600s, 1700s, even into the 1800s. This was pirate territory. This was not a nice place, especially if you were a woman. It was very ugly. And so it wasn't seen as the civilized world. Philadelphia was the civilized world. But places like St. Augustine, that might as well have been the moon. But there was this idea that everybody who came here, though, who fled when the war began, said, look, there's plenty of space here. We can just keep going. We don't even have to be part of this war. And it was only reluctantly, many, many years later, that Florida joined the Union. And fun fact, when the War of Northern Infiltration, War of Northern Aggression came in the 1860s, the Union forces never won a single battle in Florida. They were rebuffed every time they came. It's always kind of been that thing. And DeSantis is just an outgrowth of this. It's something you can tell your liberal friends and just have them do the logic work on it and show them the history. Can anybody tell me the last Democrat governor? Not including Christ, because he was a Republican when he was governor. Who was the last governor of Florida that was a Democrat? You'd have to think back. I know there's people out there typing right now. Who was the last? I believe it was Bob Martinez. People are like, Bob Martinez? Oh, it's like 98. It's like 1998. The last time there was, and those pre-98 Democrats, Southern Democrats, were super conservative. Could have been Lawton Chiles. I think it's either Martinez or Lawton Chiles. So what you've seen in Florida is a progression toward the right. Because you went from the Christ to Jeb Bush to Rick Scott, and now to Governor DeSantis. More and more and more and more conservative, more and more and more and more freedom-minded. And Shaunady brings up something here that says DeSantis is kicking butt, but he's surrounded by, quote-unquote, the untouchables. The reason they're untouchables is because the governor knows how to play the left's game. We have minority women in positions of power. And it's another topic I probably shouldn't bring up, but it was something I was talking about with. I've kind of gotten back on Twitter. By the way, this is my most recent tweet. You can follow me over here now because it seems like things are loosening up a little bit. This morning, 41 minutes ago, Nazi demand, way back in 1920. Let's jump in the Wayback Machine to 1920. Nazi demand, National Socialist Party, point number 23. We demand legal opposition to known lies, meaning mis or disinfo, and their promulgation through the press. Publications which are counter to the general good are to be forbidden. That's a quote. Adolf Hitler, 1920, National Socialist Party, 25-point program, Ministry of Truth. This is exactly what the governor was talking about. It's frightening. If I were living anywhere but Florida, it would be incredibly frightening. But I don't live outside of Florida, and I would never at this point. I truly feel like when I came here, I came to another country. Because it truly is another country. So, in the way that it operates, in the belief systems, in the culture, in its future. And let me even entertain this idea of, let's say there was some hurricane. Hurricanes coming to Florida are a natural evolution. They have been coming to Florida for hundreds of years. Hundreds of years. It's not weather warfare. We didn't get hardly a single one last year. And there was a year we had a couple of them. We've had some big ones. We've had some near misses. But if you were going to talk about anybody getting hit with weather warfare, you would have to say it was in the last couple of years, Louisiana. You see? And then, of course, we've got somebody with a fake profile. We'll just call him Phil. Why are they leading? Nobody's leading anybody, so many people to Florida. See, there's this idea that there's this giant cabal and we're all just a bunch of sheep and whatever they direct us to do, we don't have any choice but to do. So why are they moving all these people? It's crap. It's cowardly bullshit. And you always get it from commenters who have the Simpsons, Bart Simpson inspired profiles. So that's why we remove them, because they're not being helpful. But Jason, thanks for hanging out. Appreciate it. It's a model state because I really do believe that it has a lot to do with, and I've talked about this before too, and a lot of people have said that I was crazy, but it's a state of servants. And you're like, what? Wait, the entertainment industry and Disney to some extent, even the Bible says you can take evil and have good come from it when you put a good hand upon it. We are a sovereign republic primarily driven by servants. Everybody who comes here on vacation, the major number one industry of Florida is service. People that aren't from here, we try to make them feel at home. We try to make the 2 weeks they're going to be here on vacation or the week they're going to be here the best week of their year. And we clean their dishes and we entertain for them and we provide all sorts of things for them so that they can just relax and go enjoy. We bring them drinks. We bring them food. We even provide entertainment for their kids. soft, comfy rooms in the hotels. We keep the roads nice and paved well, and we try to make the experience when you're flying in something seamless and not difficult. It's an entire sovereign republic built upon service. And this is something that is biblical. People used to sign their correspondence with just the letters THS at the bottom. It was short for thine humble servant. And it truly used to be the thing, that the glue that kept this country together. And I guess I'll leave with this, and this is probably going to be kind of a hard concept to understand. 200 years ago, when a lot of Christians were socialists, which is something a lot of people can't understand, there was built into whatever the government did, there had to be pain. There had to be suffering. Why? Because pain and suffering for your neighbor to help another was actually something that was required to be written into the fabric of society. Because that was seen as service to God. Serving yourself and doing things for yourself and making your life good and lifting up yourself and being happy and doing things that felt good all the time 150, 200 years ago was seen as sinful. I know that sounds very weird, but it was seen as sinful back then, 150, 200 years ago, to do things that made yourself feel good. The whole point of government, the whole point of governance was to create some pain. That's what taxes were. Taxes were seen as largely patriotic. It was, a sacrifice. It was something that was, given voluntarily. And it's kind of a weird thing to wrap your head around. Shouldn't we be doing things to make our lives better? Yes, a lot of people said, you do things to make your kids' lives better. So, if you give them, a better opportunity or a better chance, that's good and that's biblical, but you do it at your own expense. And so, suffering was seen as a godly thing. Absent from the flesh, present with God. So that, when you talk about the modern incarnation of socialism that wants to promote the individual and promote the self and make people feel better, that's why it's sinful. But the socialism of our ancestors was not. You see that if you had a meal for your family and you had just enough to provide for your family, and then a stranger came and had nothing, well, guess what? Each member of your family had to give up a small portion of their meal to feed the stranger. And so there was suffering. You had to give up something, and that was seen as it was required that you did such thing, that you gave up and you suffered to help others and to lift up others. So anyway, that's kind of the idea of a service industry driven state. And that's why I truly believe God has put his hand on Florida. That there are people here that live a life of sacrifice. When I was, before I was full-time YouTuber, I drove full-time for Uber and Lyft in St. Augustine. And later at night, the vast majority of the people that I had to pick up and take home were the servers, the dishwashers and the waiters and the hostesses. And those people worked so hard. They were just exhausted. Some I would pick up early in the afternoon, like 2 or 3 o'clock, and I would take them to work. And then at 2 o'clock in the morning, sometimes I was still on, and I would pick them up and take them home. And they were just absolutely drained, serving others. And it's I know that seems like it might be a bit of a stretch, but to me, when you have an entire state of people that do that and have been doing that for decades and decades and decades, that this state now turns out to be the one that God has put his hand on and lifted up a leader to deliver from DC, I don't think the two things are divorced of each other. I think they're directly connected, personally. So, anyway, those of you, if you're still out there, who contributed, I believe it was Shauna, and there was another person that sent the money. Very, very, very much appreciate it, guys. Would once again, end of the month is a great time to join because you usually get a couple of days for free because they don't like double bill you, like charge you $1 for like the last 2 days of the month. They usually just wrap it into the next month so you can kind of get a little bit of a bonus going in. So if you guys want to sign up over at Patreon, there's only one level only. It's $1 per month. And if you sign up for an entire year, it comes out to like $10 and some change. So it's like even less than that. It's an economy of scale. If I could get 5 or even 10% of my YouTube audience at Patreon, I wouldn't have to worry about the advertisers at YouTube. I really would not. Well, you're very much welcome, Sean. Sean, I appreciate it. Chris Cope, you're welcome. Wendy, everybody out there. Donald Anderson, exactly right. It's an attitude of give rather than get. VW Blue Sky, Flowers. Flowers has been here for a long time. Thank you so much for your support. Sacrifice is sacred, absolutely. First, last, glad you're here. So, just wanted to share this opportunity and share it with your friends, and also, share the Twitter channel. The more direction we can get, whether it's Facebook or whether it's Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. We're going to be talking about another viewer we've talked about before, who's actually started a channel of his own, workout guy, Tim Bassett, and he's talking about healthful eating and things to do to rehydrate and how to stay in shape. So we're going to be sharing some of his content too. So, let's see, GDA Don 37, cost of living. It depends on where in Florida. Some places are insane. Some places I couldn't afford. Like just north of here, up in St. Johns County, the median house is $500,000 now. So it's not that here in Palm Coast, but you get over to Tampa. It really depends. You got to kind of do it by zip code. You got to do it by zip code to find, where, and what you're gonna want. So anyway, I've gained 13 followers since yesterday. I think I was at 1244. Now I'm at 1257. So anyway, this has all happened 100 years ago. What's going on now? Keep your eyes open. And if you can get here, because we're going to close up. At some point, the governor's going to have to, especially probably after the election, going to have to entertain the idea of doing something to put the brakes on the amount of people coming here, because it's going to have an unintended effect. We're going to have to start to pick and choose. And I hate to do it. I mean, you hate to do it, but it's not like the New World where there was unlimited resources. When folks came to the New World, there was, for all intents and purposes, unlimited resources. They literally didn't even have enough people to deal with the amount of resource they had access to. So Airbnb is a big deal, Flowers, for sure. So anyway, but I will leave it there. God bless. Have a great weekend, and we will, of course, have a video up later. Like, share, subscribe. Once again, join us over at Patreon. A lot of great content. We're going to be talking about some more stuff going on right now. The psychological operations are really tough. They're really tough to see. It's going to be real easy to fall into some old traps, some old Trumpian traps of talking about America. And I know it sounds unpatriotic, but it's something you really got to stop talking about. America is North America, Central America, and South America. It's half the globe. And Florida is not America in the sense of where the direction of North America is right now. So I'll leave it there. God bless. Have a great day. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you. So, wow. Whoa. Thank you so much, CA. Very much appreciate that. Right here at the end. Sorry, that we're at where we're at, but got to get going. Got to get the day rolling and get working on the videos. So, Joanna, John, Flowers, Shauna, Wendy, everybody, thank you for being here. Very much appreciate it. God bless. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.